Hi, I'm Joe Finsternis, and tonight I'm going to be talking to you about a movie called A Cadaver Christmas. So, this movie starts off in a bar. This bartender, Eddie, and his customer, Tom, are the only people there. And then suddenly this janitor busts in, covered in blood, and he asks to use the restroom. And of course, since he's covered in this red stuff, the bartender gets suspicious, and while the janitor is in the restroom, he calls the cops. And the janitor explains that at the university he was working at, these cadavers started coming to life and eating people. And the cop, once he gets there, he demands that the janitor take him back to the university, and for some reason the bartender and Tom go with them, and the adventure just kind of continues from there. So right off the bat, I like the fact that this movie pretty much started off with a bang. I mean, you probably spend about a minute or so just watching the bartender interact with his customer before the janitor comes in. And I also like the fact that they gave this movie sort of an old footage look, like they added scratches after the fact, sort of like how Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino did the same gimmick with their Grindhouse movies. And in case you couldn't tell by the title alone, this is a horror comedy, and the thing that they sort of try to sell the comedy with here is the fact that the characters in this movie are all stupid and immature. They really don't know how to handle the situation. And I say try because, for the most part, the humor in this movie falls flat. Really, there aren't any characters that I could get attached to. Like, I expected the janitor to be the main hero of the film, the main badass guy who I could kind of get attached to, but he was just kind of a huge dick in the movie, which, I don't know, I guess it would have been funnier if it was executed better, but like, he talks down to pretty much everyone else, and he ends up even injuring someone in order to survive, so that was kind of a selfish decision. I mean, even Ash in the Army of Darkness, despite all of his asshole traits, I don't think he ever injured a regular... Well, the person that he injured wasn't the most favorable of people, but I don't know. Moving on, though, the dialogue in this movie is very corny, and the acting is pretty terrible, which would have helped to sell the comedy if, once again, it was executed in a better fashion. I will say that Tom is the funniest character in this movie. That's why he's the only character who I'm addressing by name. I mean, he managed to get a couple of good laughs out of me throughout the film, but just a couple of spare laughs from one character during a feature-length movie really isn't enough. The effects in the movie are very low-key. You can tell that this was made on just a microscopic budget. Like, it's gory, but there really aren't any particularly memorable kill scenes. The way that the zombies looked was serviceable, I guess. Like, the cadavers had gray skin and such. The fresher people who were turned into zombies had like these veins in their skin and red glowing eyes, which looked kind of cool, but again, it was nothing real special or memorable. Also, that is something that I can pretty much forgive, though. You know, once again, you can tell that they didn't have a lot of money to make this movie. It was something that I could give a pass to if it at least worked as a decent comedy. Anyway, on to my next point. This really isn't a criticism at all, but if you're looking for a movie that will get you into the holiday spirit, this isn't exactly the one you're going to be looking for. I mean, on top of being a zombie movie, it really just feels like a zombie movie that happens to take place around Christmas time, just like Die Hard was an action movie that happened to take place during the holiday season. And obviously I'm not gonna bash Die Hard for not feeling Christmassy enough. I mean, who gives a shit? But I'm just saying it's not really gonna get you into the spirit if that's what you're looking for. It doesn't really feel like a Christmas movie until near the end. When the janitor goes to look for weapons, he opens this broom closet full of holiday decorations, and they could have tried to utilize a little imagination there. Like, he could have taken some of these candy cane decorations and impaled a few zombies with them, but instead, he and someone else end up just using most of the decorations as barricades, and they use like this tinsel garland to trip the zombies. At one point, Tom turns on these blinking lights hoping that they'll distract the zombies. That was one of his funnier moments, and I know it's a real cop-out to spoil a good joke, but honestly I don't think that this movie is worth your time anyway. But yeah, that right there was the extent of their imagination when it came to using holiday decorations as weapons against zombies. Again, I know that they didn't have a very big budget, but a little bit of imagination could have gone a long way. Another thing that made it feel more like a holiday movie near the end was when Tom had this sort of monologue about what Christmas used to mean to him when he was a little boy, and it tries to shoehorn in these more heartfelt moments near the end, and it really doesn't work because, once again, there aren't really any characters for you to get attached to, and the ending, due to that fact, ends up feeling like it's just dragging on. And once you take away the end credits, this movie only runs for about an hour and 18 minutes, and it still feels like it runs for too long. In the end, do I recommend a Cadaver Christmas? No. It's a waste of time. It's not a very good holiday movie. It's not a very funny comedy, even as like a zombie splatter flick. It's just pretty forgettable. So, that's all I've got to say about A Cadaver Christmas. I hope y'all have a good one.